Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero here on the Tour Coach. Thanks for joining in and thanks for following along. It is my mission to bring you some of the best instructors, the players, mental coaches, fitness experts, everything you need to play better golf, all of the people I find fascinating that can give you information to help you in your pursuit as a teacher or as a player. It's all here on DewsweeperTV or wherever it is you get your podcast. Thanks for watching the Tour Coach podcast, and hopefully this helps you teach better, play better, and enjoy the game. All right, joining me here on the Tour Coach, two of my favorite people to sit and chat with while I'm having a cold Coors Light is two of my longtime assistants. We should have Momo on this, but you ever notice Momo never ends up in podcasts? She dodges them. It's unbelievable. But anyways, Jackson Koert over at Atlantic Beach Country Club, kind of taking a little bit of a break during the day, and Connor Luke from up there at TPC Prestancia, as well as up there at Bluebell, and the Normandy Inn in his room right there, looking good and clean shaven. How you doing there, Connor?
I'm doing good, T.
Good.
Fresh haircut.
I noticed that. It made me smile. No gruff and long hair sticking out.
Yep.
Come a long way, baby. Come a long way. So I thought it'd be interesting. I had some questions that some folks had submitted, just random stuff. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to go through these because we're all at like slightly different levels of our teaching, or as far as our career, places in our career. And I thought, I just thought it'd be good to pick each other's brain. We have a lot of teachers that listen to this, which always surprises me. But two, we also have a lot of golf nuts that are trying to get better. So I think all this stuff applies. I'm going to start with you, Jackson. So do you think that there's shortcuts to learning information now, right? Or people think there is. It's everywhere. But there's no shortcut to actually teaching better lessons and getting better at being around people. Like, what are your thoughts in regards to like shortcuts to getting better? Are there, and what are some of the shortcuts, if you found any, to helping people get better quicker on the tee? And then we'll kick it to Connor.
Yeah, as far as access to information, obviously there's a ton. And so I used to always knock social media, but I think it was because I wasn't super mature in my ability to filter it and be able to apply it appropriately to the person in front of me. So there are good shortcuts in learning. Yes. And I think what always surprises me, man, is how you can reach out to people through social media and they're willing to help. And I didn't really understand that or try that much when I was younger. People are nice, man. Like, yeah, there are a lot of great people that are willing.
I think it's getting better.
Agreed.
I think people are less protective than they used to be.
That's fair. I mean, you're going to find some people that are, yes. But then,
those people that charge for you to come watch it.
That really drives me nuts. Yeah. Or don't let you in general. But then, there's a huge disconnect between that information and being able to apply that information. And like you always say, that your 10-year quote, like you have to have experience teaching people. And I've learned to, like, if you can do stuff like quicker, not like making sure you're busy, but like in 10 minutes, if you can like be able to figure out emotion and figure out what you're going to do, and like it is actually correct, and play that forward in your mind, it's very good for your development. And I've struggled with that in the past, but you do that super well in golf schools. I think I was telling you this on the phone a couple of weeks ago. Like, you do that very well in golf schools. That's probably why you're a very good golf instructor. And that is not my best attribute yet, but it's getting better.
Yeah. I think it comes from doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
From doing it more. I think social media, I used to not like it. Now I really do like it. I like I like the relationships that like we've been able to build with other teachers that maybe we wouldn't have built if we didn't have social media, because we get to, you get to know some people and interact. And then there's been people that have come to watch us, hang out with us, and we've done stuff with that probably without social media wouldn't have happened realistically. I'm not necessarily, I don't necessarily buy in that we can shortcut the process to becoming a really good teacher. I still don't think that no matter how much info you get, it shortcuts your ability to really become the experience of becoming a better teacher. I think experience is the biggest piece that makes you a good teacher. And I think that's the same for playing. In fact, shifting to the player side, I was having this conversation with Rick Lamb at the Corn Ferry event this past week and talking about how he's stayed on the same things for basically 4 years, 3-4 years, right? And there was a process to getting better at it. And I think some of the stuff we do with Colby and fitness and different things do help improve your ability to learn and help your ability to learn new movements and all that. But I still think that thinking that people are going to just shortcut the process, I think isn't probably very realistic. I think it's a hard damn game.
Yeah. And you bring up an interesting point that was talked about at the Golf Magazine Summit, where you have access to all this information in various buckets.
Yeah.
And so people get a shallow experience at a bunch of different things, but never get very good at a couple of things.
Mm-hmm. I think that was Blackbird's presentation. It wasn't that Mark's?
Yeah, so he was talking about compartmentalization, and I think he did, and so did who's the putter guy? Never Compromise came back at
Todd Soanes.
Yes, I think that was him that was influenced, and then he's kind of going down the putting route. I believe that was where it cemented in my brain.
Yeah. No, I agree. Connor, you've observed Jackson a lot, spent a lot of time with him. You spent a lot of time with me. Now you spend a lot of time on your own. Your thoughts on what have you, and first of all, we're hard as hell on you. We do give you a lot of crap, right? And deservedly so, most of the time. But because you have cut your hair and you have shaved today, I'll let off a little bit, right? But I hadn't even shared this with you. I got a wonderful email from a member at TPC Prestancia about you the other day, and the reviews have been fantastic. What have you done to make such a big jump from over the last few years from not being that great and kind of wandering in the instruction, and I watched you give lessons, and now to being really, really good, doing a really good job where your business is building like crazy. You're getting more and more good players, doing a great job with juniors. What's been the key for you to get over that hurdle? And because I think it not only help teachers, but it'll help players.
Well, some people might not like this, but one, it's sticking with one thing, which is you guys, following you guys and sticking with fundamentals and just not getting off of it.
Pelvic thrust.
Until you understand the fundamentals enough to where they start to tell the story for the things around it, not yeah. And then
about breaking courses.
Here we go, guys. There we go. There's the hard times.
I think we ought to do a podcast on Connor Luke's 10 best, 10
and worst best moments.
10 best moments.
Yeah, that would be a good one. I would be interested in that. I would listen to that personally. I also think from the player side, I think social media can plant a seed of doubt that can grow while you're working on something. If we're working on something and it goes good in stretches and it's bad in stretches, you maybe haven't really learned it all the way, or able to apply it yet, and then you see something on social media that's different than what you're trying to do. But I think that can plant a seed of doubt, and I think that's a struggle that people have.
So that's a really interesting point, and you can even I think you can even take that beyond social media. I was having a conversation with a player. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I don't even know what today is, but they talked about how they themselves with their own thoughts, not from social media, were trying to do too much to make something better. And were clouding their own mind by just searching. I thought so. Okay. Good point, Connor. Keep going.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's, there isn't a shortcut. And what I like about learning, from a teaching side, sometimes learning isn't all just about the info that you give in the lesson. Like, I'll hammer this until the day I die. But for me, so much of it was like everything around the lesson. Like, I gave a bad day of lessons in TPC, and it was like I didn't sleep very well the night before. I like was late to get there and didn't have my stuff set up, and like guaranteed not giving a good lesson that day at some point. Maybe you get a few of them right, and maybe I get a lot more of them right than I would have gotten 2 years ago because my info is better. But like there's a stretch in there where it's not going to go good. And then there's a day where I get there early and everything's set up and I'm rocking and rolling. Like, even if I get it wrong, I can still get a good lesson out of it because everything else is good. So, and that I learned from you guys. So, yeah,
Good.
Everything.
Another question that we get a lot, and I'm curious at both years because, like Jackson, obviously you're at the phase where you're teaching tons of. What is that you're doing to your face?
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to fix my tripod at the same time.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know what you were doing there.
I'm bad at multitasking.
But we, you're at a point where you're teaching lots of young, up and coming tour players, men and women, still crazy, super busy at the club there at Atlantic Beach. Connor, you're getting more and more good juniors. In fact, Braden Balla and some good young players handed off to you as well. You're doing a nice job. Obviously, I teach some good players, but like I'm actually having a renaissance of teaching more and more recreational players down at Old Palm than I have in a long time, and having more fun doing it than I have had in a long time. But the question is always like, do you teach them differently, right? I get that a lot. Curious on your thoughts on that, because I think for players and teachers out there that listen to us, that's a good question, and I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on it, and I'll chime in.
This could be a whole podcast on itself. Question. I really enjoyed it.
I got another Coors Light in there if y'all want to do another one after.
I'm in.
Tony's in the keys. Tony's in the keys.
Careful when he's in the keys. You had told me several years ago, I had asked what's the difference between coaching a good player and a bad player, and I think this was when I started to pick up better players. You had said players that suck, you have to teach them to go through the golf ball because they don't know how. Good players already know how to hit shots. You have to basically set them up in the backswing to be able to let them do that. So I think a lot of that rings true, but from a lesson structure standpoint, I think my pillars are the same: grip, setup, crap, like alignment, ball position, posture, even their routine, and having them take ownership in it, from like kind of stock on the range, and then what happens when they maybe go to different golf courses or they play in wind or whatever. So like your setup bucket, right? Obviously your pivot bucket, like how people are going to load and unload, and then the club. I think you could boil it down into kind of those three little buckets for good and bad players. I would say, the only thing to add, maybe what you told me years ago, was if you can give a recreational player something very easy, like crazy simple in the backswing, that's a little domino, and get them to turn through it. So it's like two things. I've had a lot of success with that. Because a lot of times they're so bad in the backswing, like you got to give them something there too. Good players, it takes me longer. I think I'm more careful with what I tell them and when I tell them stuff. So I think it's like, I'd like to get like a framework. Like I see it as like a puzzle sometimes. Like I used to love doing puzzles as a kid. And like once you get the border, the stuff inside is really easy. Like you kind of work off of that. And with good players, there's a lot of things that might be outside of the box for me. But I think if you can like mousetrap them in the right directions, their feels and the stuff that they produce on the golf course leads them to an answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Great job, Connor.
A few years ago, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and teaching like a bunch of young juniors and stuff. And I remember calling Jackson one day, and I was like, I want to teach good players. What do I do?
Oh, boy.
And he was like,
blast by Jackson.
No, and it's good. And I was like, should I move golf courses? What should I do? And he was like, how do you think you get good players? And I was like, well, I don't know. I think you have to be around them at the club. And he was like, no, you dude, you make them good. And I was like, oh, duh. And so
that's a Tony line. That's not a me line.
I got it from Jackson. So yeah, but I think teaching good
my
players
version would have been a little more colorful.
Sure. In both cases, the similarity is they have to leave the lesson understanding what they're trying to do, and it has to be simple enough for them to apply it. And the long version, I've watched Tony teach so many golf lessons, and they're hardly ever that much different with tour players than it is a regular, everyday golfer. I think maybe like just from observing, maybe Tony keys in a little bit more to the technology and stuff, and making sure that like it's more precise. But like that, that's it. Like it's still working the body, getting the body to move the way that it needs to, and then like going on the golf course and making sure the lines and stuff match. And so for me, when I get a good player, like I'm very, 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 I'm almost to the point where I'm like scared to make any crazy changes, especially until I like understand what is actually happening rather than just changing the video. Like, what do they struggle with? So yeah, I mean, first lesson with the hopefully we're on the course, and if shots, targets, and trying to figure out what if we get the club on the plane, is that going to screw up something else? Look from a picture rather than just making the video better.
Yeah, I think I was brought up, HJ and Wayne, and I'd watched Wayne teach so many lessons. But, I really try to I look for the same things on the first lesson with all players, all abilities, right? Like I look at how the club face is, or how their setup is, how the club face is, and how their pivot is, right? I look at those three things, and I always try to figure out which one's the most screwed up, and causing other stuff to not go correct. I think I start the same place with all of them, and then to go back to like Jackson, we were joking about the backswing and the forward swing, and then obviously a really good player, a college player, a tour player is in a different place, and they've got obviously I think they're all when a tour player's off on one of those, it's not near as much as the 15 handicapper, right? So like if that 15 handicapper's pivot was like the tour players who's maybe not that good, you'd be like going, hey man, you're pretty good, right? So but I think I look at a lot of the same stuff, and I think because I was hammered so much about keeping it simple and staying on plan, and then I had some success with it and players got better, that I've stuck to that. But I think that I try to keep the information the same. I'm trying to achieve a lot of the same things. I think with tour players, the one difference is they're already really good and they already have patterns. So you're just trying to figure out what in the pattern is not producing, is not allowing them to hit the shots or achieve whatever they want, especially if they've already got status, like they're already a PGA Tour player. And which would also to go to the point, like, I think that's why I enjoy what I enjoy doing. And I had a long talk with Dr. Greg Carton, my therapist, this morning on the ride down here about, I actually enjoy teaching those that are really good, but not yet to the tour yet, that are on their way up, high school, college, young pros, more than I do tour players. Because I think you have more of a chance to mold and to develop and to coach and those types of things than you do with somebody that everything's kind of already established. And yet there's great teachers that would be more of tweakers, right? That are great at finding the one thing in a tour player's pattern, using 3D and different things. Like Scott Hamilton, I would say, is probably maybe the best in the world at that, right? Like taking a tour player and finding out one of the things that in their pattern isn't very good or whatever doesn't match what tour players do, and tweaking it, making them really good. I don't think that's my forte. And so I think as teachers and as players, you've got to find out the things that you're good at, and right, I don't know. That was kind of a long, rambling damn answer.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Talking about, but I think, so teachers and players, and so players tend to, they're trying to get better. Also, you need to find a teacher that's good at what you need, right? And if you're crazy, if you require lots of babysitting and lots of tech and lots of things, there's going to be certain teachers that won't be good for you, and there'll be teachers that be great for you. And I think I think a lot of success in developing your game is finding the right match in your instruction program, the right teacher, the right coach, somebody that's had success, but also fits what you desire and what you need.
Good.
Jack.
I'm gonna throw one while you were saying all that. Maybe it's just a little pandemic here, but or I wasn't very good at it. That's a better answer. I wasn't very good at it last couple of years, but I've gotten better. Is like you talk about pattern, educating your club players or somebody that's not as good on the ball flight stuff, and just like Wayno would just hammer them on the same thing, that yes, your pull, your chunk, your thin, and your slice is this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not 4 different things, and like being able to literally herd them in the same direction. I think I've gotten better at that the last couple of years, but with it being a focus on the ball, ball instead of technique, I think, for a recreational player.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wayno is one of the very best at all teaching, but with recreational mid to mid-low handicap players, making them really good players.
Yeah.
And his approach is like, when all the shallow, he wouldn't care if the club got steep and a little outside. He'd make them learn to turn back and turn through. They could do it. And he didn't care if they were hitting a pull or a pull cut, as long as that was getting better. Because then I remember him saying one time, well, after I'll get this fixed, I'll come in and shallow the club.
Yeah. Whereas,
like, I think that's a really good point for recreational golfers, is like, don't try to do too much, right? Like, and then a teacher, and Wayne is a genius, it is like an understanding, like, if you're trying to get the player to improve his pivot and shallow the club at the same time, for a particular case, like maybe the person can't do that, right? And I think understanding the steps that it takes, I think that's why he's such a good teacher, and that's why he's had so much success developing junior golfers over the years, and developing some of the best juniors that have come out of the state of Alabama up to a point, because he's a builder of fundamentals and pivot, and that's never going to go away, no matter what this horse shit they tell you on Instagram. You don't have to be an athlete, swing your arms and all that shit. Like, build a pivot, you're going to build a better player.
Pretty good line right there.
Any questions? We had another one. Hold on. I'm going to get to our questions here.
That was good.
Hold on. I got to get to our questions. We're not.
What hat you got there, T? Hold on. What hat?
Oh, this is Shadowcasters. By the way, I'm going fishing in a couple days with Juice, my boy Juice, and I'm going to try to catch some tarpon. And I'm going to get out on the water, and I'm so excited. Here you go. How long did it take each of you to feel comfortable giving lessons? I'm assuming you both are.
Connor?
I'm still not, like, it's not the lesson always. It's like trying to match the person in front of you. I think that's the harder piece maybe, but giving lessons, you learn to get comfortable. It's not linear, like just like golf. Like, at first I was comfortable, and then I realized I sucked and I wasn't comfortable, and then you kind of have to figure out how to get better in order to get comfortable again. And then it goes in waves. It goes in waves by the year, it goes in waves by the weekend, it goes in waves by the lesson too. Like, am I ever like terrified of, I don't think I can help anybody? No, but it wasn't always like that. And then like the comfortability part is, yeah, just as much, again, back end stuff as it is like the information in the lesson. Like if you get yourself into a pinch where you got someone waiting and you're 10 minutes behind and you still haven't filmed a recap video and you don't know who to charge, like that still get in those places and then you get uncomfortable. For me,
yes, you do. You do that occasionally.
Yeah. Tony loves when I do that. So, yeah, I'm on team. Make sure everything around the lesson is good before the lesson.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Jackson, you got any questions, comments?
No, from a comfort standpoint, I don't know. I might have to think on that one a little bit. I think I was comfortable early with people, maybe not my ability to get the info, but I knew like if you could make them have a good time and get a little bit better than them getting worse and having a bad time.
Yeah.
You know, I know that, but that was early. And I think now it's just different. I don't know if I got a good answer for this one, T. I'm not
I think that's good. I mean, I don't think there is an answer. And I think,
because people make me uncomfortable. Like there's some people I'm uncomfortable.
There's still people like that I'll teach where you just never super comfortable in the lesson. Right.
Yeah.
You know, or it just starts off bad. It's not a good vibe.
They don't want.
I wouldn't say I necessarily get nervous. I just get where I don't like being there. I wouldn't say I get nervous, but I'm, you know, the most nervous I think I ever was. I don't know. Early on when HJ would watch me teach a lesson, or Wayne, I was nervous. Not a little bit of Wayne early on, but then when HJ would watch me, I think I was always nervous whenever he'd watch me. And then the most nervous that I've been in recent years, and this is back 5 years or whatever, but was that time you were there, Jackson, when Bill Haas watched us teach Jay Haas. I mean, when Jay Haas watched us teach Bill Haas, right? That was incredibly nerve-wracking for me. Sweating my nuts off. I mean, doing that. You know, and I think but I think if you're nervous, it's good because you care and you want to do a good job. I've always thought that, right? But you know, I mean, I think it's part of being yourself. And what you were saying about the information, I mean, I think in the beginning, you're nervous. You know, I just always remember, like, I would always have to slow down. Hank would always pull me aside and say, you know, you don't have to give them everything you know in the first 3 minutes of the golf lesson, right? And I wasn't great about that. Now you guys watch me a lot. I'll go a whole lesson and not say very much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the opposite of how I used to be with that. Like, I'll go a whole lesson and sometimes I'll feel like I had a lesson the other day. I felt like I didn't even really teach him anything. We got done and I really was like, there was part of me that didn't want to teach me, charge him. Not very big part of me, but there was part of me that didn't want to charge him. And because I really felt like I didn't do anything. And the guy was like, that's the best lesson I ever had. And I go, 300. All right. Right. So, but like, really, like, you know, it's funny how what we perceive is not always what the student perceives too. You know?
What was the Paul Shemp thing with the different coaches?
Oh yeah. When he did that, he had done that survey with all
the level of coaches.
Mm-hmm. There's three levels of coaches, according to all their research, and I'm paraphrasing Dr. Shemp. But you know, Hank was the one that had shared all this information with us years ago. Wayne and I both, way back, and you know, I know in the early days, Dr. Shemp was a big part of how they selected the top 100 teachers. I know they've moved on different from that. I mean, why, I don't know, but anyways, I digress. But he, you know, I got frustrated from it. But anyways, there were 3 levels of teachers there, you know, and the first level is, the more I'm around young teachers and I listen to the young teachers in our group and all that, there, you know, you teach what you're doing in your golf swing, right? What you do.
That's right. You teach what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. And every time I see a real young teacher starting out, been a good player, you know, you see it a lot with assistants, different things, like you see that they do a lot of that. Right. And I agree 100% with that. The second stage that a teacher goes through after they go from that, after they're serious, is they have some sort of a system that they teach within, right? And that would be, for me, it was grit, posture, pivot, the stuff HJ, Wayno, I learned from Ness, all those things. And you stay within that system and you build a business and you do really good and you help probably most of your players, right?
Okay.
And it takes a long time to get out of that. And then according to all their research, and I may be off on the times and whatever, but like takes 10 years or more to get out of it. And then it is the last stage is your ability to just fix cause and effect and adapt to whoever's in front of you and fix whatever's in front of you. Right. And you don't, and I would say, I don't think that there's anybody that doesn't teach within a system that's good. Now, I think everybody has a system and preferences. And I think these seminars that say you're not, so you don't teach within a system, it's a system. If you measure this that way, you do this, you do that. Like, I think all of them are systems and they're all good. And I think the great teachers develop the ability to operate outside of what their preferences in their system are when it doesn't work for the player in front of them.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's a much better way of talking about comfort in giving a lesson, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we all start out and players too. I mean, but I think the way as a player, one of the biggest things that I think, if you're taking a lesson, if you're a student, you really want to get better, that's one of the most critical things for you to hear today is the best thing you can do is be really open and communicate with your teacher while you're in the lesson.
Yeah.
Communicate the things that you've done before that don't work. Communicate the things that have worked. Communicate how things are feeling during the lesson. Communicate when you come back, the things you did that didn't work or are working and what's going on. Like, if you don't communicate, this relationship has zero chance to work.
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Connor,
Yeah.
you're doing awesome. Jackson, thanks for the time as always. We got to do this more. We got to do the three of us just taking questions from people more. You guys are the best. Connor, we're proud of you. Keep kicking butt there at TPC Prestancia. I know all the folks are anxious for you to come back. I know you're going to have some dates each month down there. And you're doing a good job up there, obviously, as well, up there with Bud and the boys up there at Bluebell. Jackson, keep kicking butt over there at Atlantic Beach and with all the good young players you got. Doing awesome. That Derek Bard's a player. You've done a heck of a job with him. It was fun to run into him.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. I'll just keep hanging out here in the Keys for another few days. And y'all may or may not see me.
He's going to stay down there one time, Connor, and then we're in trouble.
Uh-oh.